If you notice a lot of pressure to say the right thing in social situations or to not say the wrong thing, then you might be experiencing something called social perfectionism. Social perfectionism is the feeling that there are certain rules you must follow in social and/or performance situations to come across well, be accepted, or feel like you belong. And importantly, it feels like breaking these rules has consequences, possibly for your career, your relationships, essentially for you as a person. Living with social perfectionism is like living with an invisible or else hanging over your head. So how do you know if you're experiencing social perfectionism? Social perfectionism sounds a very specific way. It often sounds like I should or I should not. I must or I must not. And often these things are helpful. They help us navigate our social world. For example, I should not shout at my friends or else I'll damage our relationship. That is helpful. It helps us navigate relationships. But what happens is that we apply this rule-based system to things where we actually don't need those rules. And so these rules spread way beyond their helpful intent and have an invisible or else afterwards. For example, I must not come across stupid in this video or else people will think I'm incompetent. I should always be likable or else people will think I'm weird. The or else is the threat that makes the rule actionable. You have to live up to this rule or it feels like the or else might come true. And that is what often leads to a lot of pressure and anxiety in social and or performance situations. And for many people, really importantly, they actually have rules about the experience of anxiety itself in the context of a social situation. Essentially, rules about whether it's okay to be perceived as experiencing fear. For example, I must not show anxiety when speaking or else people will think I'm weak. I should not experience anxiety public speaking or else I'll be humiliated. Each time we have a rule about whether it's okay to experience anxiety or not, and often our rule is it's not okay, particularly in the context of a social situation, we create a significant amount of pressure for ourselves. So when we can't live up to it, we're experiencing an expectation violation. We cannot meet our own expectations of what we feel we should be able to cope with when it comes to anxiety in a public space. And then anxiety triggers itself over and over and over again as you try to live up to the rule that is actually impossible to meet, which is being enforced by the or else hanging over you. So why do we do this? Well, in the short term, there is relief, right? We live up to the rule, we think we sound intelligent, whatever it is, and there's that relief, there's that, phew, I've lived up to the rule. My worst fear did not come true. But each time we go through that cycle, and for some people this is on a daily basis, we're reinforcing that this rule needs to be in place. The brain learns, I need to live up to this and keep this going to feel safe, which creates a very, very small place for us to have any mistakes or uncertainty at all. Because when we don't meet it, we do say something wrong, we do show signs of anxiety, we do make a public mistake. That's when shame, self-criticism, and rumination follow. So anxiety is in the pressure to live up to the rule, and shame and low mood and self-criticism follow when you've broken or been unable to live up to your own rule. But either way, the rule is enforced. The brain learns that the rule matters and that you need it to keep safe. So it keeps it in place. And we may wonder, why am I living with such anxiety in these social situations? And it's often because in the back of your mind, all of this is going on, but it's been going on for so long, you don't even recognize this as social perfectionism. It just feels like the way you should be. So what do we do? How do we break out of this cycle when these rules feel necessary for social safety and or your self-esteem? First of all, it's noticing your own rule book. When you feel anxiety in a social and or performance situation, notice, what's the rule I'm following right now? What's my or else? Do I believe this rule? Is it true? Is it helpful to me? Who and where did I learn this from? That moment of questioning can begin to give you a bit of cognitive space to begin to question your own social rulebook and make a different decision if it serves you. And this begins to unwind the programming that the brain has that you need to follow these rules and break free from the cycle of pressure. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about just being in my work. It's that ability to just be socially without self-monitoring yourself and having this whole rule book full of or else's if you do anything that doesn't fit this script that you have internalized. We move from performing to expressing, from monitoring to connecting. So if this has got you thinking about your social rule book and what might be helpful versus an unhelpful rule, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. And I'll also link a free worksheet below in the description of a PDF guide that summarizes everything in the video.